So welcome, and to those that are here in person, thank you for coming. For those of you that are watching virtually, thank you. Today is a special day because it is the discussion on something that has been one of the great causes of my personal life that has turned into a professional crusade, and that is second chances. And as Lieutenant Governor and the Chair of Board of Pardons, we wanted to make sure that we reinvented this process, and we made it and recognized it as the critically important piece of the criminal justice system here in Pennsylvania that it is. And let me first say, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Governor Wolf, who has been my unflinching partner in this process. And I want to emphasize, as board chair, it is only his pen and signature that ultimately provides either the commutation or the pardon. So I'm grateful to have had his support. I'm also grateful to the legislature that when we approached them in 2019 for the funds to do this modernization process, they stepped up. So I'm grateful to them as well too. And that's what this is about. This has been a modernization of the pardons process that will make it more accessible, more democratic, and more transparent and readily interfaced for Pennsylvania citizens. It will be available online. Now, this will ultimately finish its final rollout at the very end of my term, or even completed the next lieutenant governor. But it's been an amazing opportunity, and the people that are behind me are been involved in this process, or the real stars of the show, that I would call them, are Pennsylvanians that have received a second chance. Life-changing second chances, and you're going to hear from all of them. I am a bit player in all of this. They are the ones that really are the reason why we do what we do. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. My name is Celeste Trusty, and I'm so honored to serve as the Secretary of the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons. April is Second Chance Month, and it's just amazing to stand here and announce the Board of Pardons Modernization Project alongside some of Pennsylvania's most staunch advocates for second chances and some of our community members who are making our Commonwealth a better, stronger place with their second chance. Because of this administration's focus on expanding access to second chances, the Board of Pardons Office has seen an enormous increase in applications for clemency since 2019. The modernized application system will provide transparency, clarity, and agency for people seeking clemency here in Pennsylvania. Instead of relying solely on paper applications, people will be able to access our online application system from a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, to apply online, upload supporting documents, and securely check the status of their application at any time. The modernized clemency system will also allow our small but extremely dedicated Board of Pardons office staff to spend less time responding to status requests and locating missing documents, and more time accomplishing the goal of our agency, which is to help people who have been impacted by our overly punitive criminal legal system receive mercy and compassion and go on to live their best lives. When people seeking clemency use our modernized application system, they'll be able to create a secure login that is unique to them and their application. Once that secure login is created, applicants will use this information to access their application and status throughout the entire clemency process. Applicants will be able to enter information for representatives who are assisting them throughout the entire process. Applicants will also be able to enter details about convictions they plan to include in their petition for clemency, such as the date of the incident, the details of the situation, and the county of conviction. Applicants will also be able to upload any supporting and corresponding court documents and supporting documentation that they would like the board to consider. People applying for clemency will also be able to submit their applications online and check the status of their applications through our new modernized system. For folks applying for clemency, for our Board of Pardons office staff, providing the technology for applicants to keep track of their progress is one of the most important aspects to the modernized system. So often we get letters and phone calls and emails from applicants asking where their application is in the process. Allowing people to check on their status at any time from their cell phone or their computer will demystify so much of this process for applicants and free up time for our staff to do the important work of getting applications processed and before the Board of Pardons. The modernized online clemency system is such an important investment by this administration that has prioritized second chances the entire time. Since taking office, Governor Wolf has pardoned more than 1,900 people. That is 1,900 people who've been granted relief and mercy from past mistakes and are now able to access expanded educational opportunities, get better jobs, and even chaperone their kids on a school field trip. 256 people have been granted pardons under the expedited nonviolent marijuana program since its inception in 2019. That's more than 250 people who no longer experience societal barriers because of ridiculous weed charges. 45 people who were sentenced to life without parole, 2 of them here behind us, that's death by incarceration, have been granted clemency by Governor Wolf. These are grandparents and parents, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and friends who have now been freed from endless incarceration and are making our community stronger through mentoring and leading our youth. Clemency in Pennsylvania is also a racial justice issue. 3/4 of the people freed from the bondage of unending perpetual punishment during Governor Wolf's administration have been people of color. 101 people serving sentences of incarceration less than life without parole have also been granted clemency by Governor Wolf. This Second Chance Month is a time to celebrate all of our community members who have been liberated from the unending consequences of our oppressive legal system, and to reaffirm this administration's profound commitment to expanding this beautiful and critical process of clemency in our Commonwealth for so many generations to come. I am so excited and proud to introduce multiple Pennsylvanians who have successfully navigated the clemency process and are some of the strongest threads working to help heal our communities. Mr. Corey Sanders, Mr. Akeem Sims, Miss Naomi Blunt Wilson, Mr. Kevin Butler, and then also Mr. George Trudell. Thank you so much. And Akeem, I'm sorry, Corey, would you like to speak first?
Good morning. As you may have already heard, my name is Corey Sanders. I'm from the Mon Valley part of the city. Thank you. I'm from the Mon Valley part from the city of Pittsburgh. It's a city, small, called McKee-Sports, just 13 minutes away from the downtown area. Now, I wear many of hats in my community, besides being a father and a husband of 5. I'm a barber, teacher, and instructor. I'm a business owner for 20 plus years. I'm a life coach, an advocate, an ordained deacon, and a pardon coach. I currently work as a community specialist at the Center for Victims through the District Attorney's Office in the city of Pittsburgh. And finally, I am a state proctor for the Barber Board of Examiners. So as you see, I do multiple things throughout my community and throughout my household. Now, I'm here to explain why I feel a pardon is very important. A pardon brings freedom with another opportunity in life for everyone. This is a second chance. This second chance will allow me to show and to prove to others that your past mistakes, my past mistakes, was not and will not be our future destiny. See, great things still lie ahead of each and every one of us standing behind me. God has not yet begun to stop blessing us and opening doors for the doors that we must come through. Now, I would not have known anything about a pardon except when I ran for city council in my city. I ran and I won. A few people that I beat did not agree with that, and they didn't like that. So they understood that the law, that you can be a felon, that you can run for a seat, you can win, but you cannot hold that seat if that seat is challenged. And that's what came across me. But that's when Lieutenant Governor came to my aid, and he opened some doors for me, and he helped me run the 100-mile race that I had to do. And I want to thank you publicly again, Mr. Fetterman, for your open arms that you extended to me when no one else had opened their arms for me. Now, all these other people behind me, they have different stories, but we're all on the same page. There are so many people out there who deserve to work towards a second chance in life, because second chances are very important, just like life has so many trials and tribulations. And throughout life, there are multiple choices in life that we're going to make. And a lot of choices will cause us to fall down. But we have to make sure that we move forward, we press forward, and we get up and we dust ourselves off. For those who want to get a second chance, it's available to you. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here to present on behalf of people who deserve second chances, being it is Second Chance Month. As we are here to talk about modernization, I don't think that it's fair for us to talk about it without talking about the lack thereof. My pardon process was a long journey, a very long journey, a tedious process. And had it been something where it could be accessible online, it would have shortened the timeline for me. I started my pardon process in 2015. 2015, I just received my pardon in 2021. At the time when I applied, you had to pay for the application, mail a money order, and wait for it to come back. So now to have it accessible online, that it's like a breath of fresh air for people who I'm encouraging to get their pardon in the pipeline. You can't get an application or be granted a pardon if you don't put your pardon application in. So people are confused about what it takes to apply for a pardon. So I provide advice, direct them to Pulse, which is the Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. I'm a part of their board of directors. I direct them to their website. We have various resources there to provide guidance for people. But again, back to the modernization. If in fact we're going to have it be modern, we also have to make sure that people have access to the internet. A lot of the people that I know are unemployed. At the time, I was unemployed when I applied for a pardon. That was my main reason for applying for a pardon. So if you don't have employment, 9 times out of 10, you may not have access to the internet. So if we're going to do that, please, I encourage anyone and all to make sure that we also amplify the need for access to internet for all. Another thing for me, my story is I was convicted of possession with intent to deliver, cocaine. I'm a Philly resident, but a Norristown native. I would transport cocaine from Philadelphia to Norristown, Montgomery County. I had various charges there as well. For me, this process has allowed me to transition from being someone who's viewed and considered a convicted felon to someone who's in high regard as an accounting profession. I work at an accounting firm in Plymouth Meeting, but prior to that and prior to obtaining a pardon, I couldn't even get a job at Walmart as a warehouse worker. They made me an offer, but after doing the criminal background check, which they leverage the laws as they are, you can do the criminal background check after the fact of making a conditional offer. So they made me the offer and told me that I was hired. I called the manager looking for my schedule. Never found the manager. Only to find a letter in 3 days stating that because of adverse action in my record, they couldn't hire me. So this accessibility makes it increased applications, awareness, and hopefully approvals. People actually being granted pardons and being able to live a fulfilling life. One of the questions I asked Lieutenant Governor when I had the chance to talk with him was, what was he going to do to allow people like me and others to strive? That's all I want. Just an opportunity to strive, to be released. I was discharged from prison, but I was never released. To be released from the scarlet letter of my past and be able to pursue my full potential. In closing, that's all I would ask is for people here to be constant advocates for pardons and raise the level of awareness. Thank you.
Good morning. It's still morning. Good morning. My name is Naomi Blount Wilson, and I am a commuted lifer as well. And first, publicly, I really just want to thank the Lieutenant John Fetterman. I'm telling you, I just love this guy. You know, really, had it not been for him, I would still be on the inside. Death by incarceration, as they call it. I spent 37 years in prison. I've been home now 2.5 years. And God is so good. But Lieutenant, he hired me as a commutation specialist, so that gave me a job, thank God, because you know how it is when you get out of prison. Nobody wants to give you a job, like the brother just said. But I was blessed to be able to work for the lieutenant governor. But I just want to speak a little bit about second chances. I'm telling you, I am living my best life. When I tell you I'm living my best life, I'm living my best life. See, it's a difference when you've been there and you walked in those shoes and you know what it's like. So you don't want to go back. I mean, if you've got good sense. So you don't want to go back. So that's a path that I traveled that I'll never forget where I came from. You know, but I'm just so blessed. This is my best life. I think I probably walk a straighter line than most people because, you know, I'm still living with that fear of going back, and I don't want to go back. So many people on the inside. I remember before I had even gone to prison, I used to hear people say, oh man, ain't no friend, you can't find no friends in jail, don't nobody this in jail. You know what I mean? This was the talk. Some of the most beautiful women did I meet on the inside that, you know, I'm getting a little teary-eyed now because they are my friends and they become my family and I love them and they, like me, I'm not saying all. I don't put everybody in the same boat, but so many are deserving of that second chance. So deserving. And I'm just hoping that some things will change where, you know, maybe if you're not involved with anybody that is on the inside, get involved. Learn something about what really goes on the inside so you can feel some compassion. There are people just like you and I. They are, and they deserve that chance. They really do, and we need people like you to make those changes happen. So I'm not going to talk a lot because I can go. I'm not going to talk a lot. But I just want to thank everybody just for, you know, just wanting to even hear some of what goes on and how we feel about second chances. I don't think that just April should be second chance month. I think from January to December, it should be second chance month. So I thank you, God bless you, and I love you all. I really do.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Butler. My sentence was commuted February 11th of 2021. I was incarcerated for several robberies and received an 80-year sentence. No, nobody got hurt, nobody got touched, but that's another story for another time. Right now, I want to talk about why it's so important for second chance legislation. I want to personally thank also Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, but also Celeste Trusty, because she has been one of my biggest supporters while we was down there at Greatest Fort. Now, one of the reasons, I'm not going to talk too much about myself, but I want to talk about some of the comrades that I left. You have one, David Johnson, who's a Vietnam vet, who's been incarcerated for 50 years. He didn't kill nobody, but he was with somebody else that actually supposed that did the killing. He has 2 Bronze Stars, and he's been incarcerated for 50 years. 50, he's almost 80. Then you have Kevin Evans, who is one of the guys that single-handedly did the transformation for a bunch of young guys that was incarcerated down Greatest Fort. He spoke to both of us, over 20,000 individuals. We invited Lieutenant Fetterman to come in, and he came down Greatest Fort and blew the whole jail off the roof, as I would say, as it pertains to, you know, second chances as far as when it comes to commutation. So I bring these guys up because some people can't file for commutation. You have Andre Harvey, who's been down for 40 years, claims actual innocence, which he is, and he can't file for commutation because he won't admit that he did something that he didn't do. So, you know, I work on a bunch of criminal justice reform. I sit on a bunch of committees. I definitely want to thank Straight Ahead and also Let's Get Free, because these women, there's about 20 of them, and they're pushing for commutation reform. Since Celeste been here, like, I don't even know what to say. Words cannot express how happy we are that she has this position. Also, I just want to say thanks for me having a second chance, because like Naomi said, I am also having a ball too. You know, I got to go to a bunch of Italian restaurants that I always wanted to go to, and I am enjoying that for real. So I just want to thank y'all for coming, and if you get a chance and you think about second chance legislation, just, you know, see what you can do to help, because this is extremely important. There's a bunch of guys that's left back, you know, that deserve second chances for real. Again, I want to thank y'all for your time, and again, I want to thank John, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, and also Celeste Trusty. Have a nice day.
Good morning. My name is George Trudell. I'm commutation specialist to Lieutenant Governor, who I want to thank, along with Governor Wolf, members of the board, pardons, Secretary Trusty. The reason I'm standing here today, doing some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life and probably will ever do in my life. I was a life-sentenced prisoner in SCI Graterford. I served 31 years for second-degree felony murder. I was 19 years of age at the time when I made a poor decision, 30 seconds of my life, which ultimately cost me the rest of my life. My co-defendant in this case, who actually took the man's life during a fight, which was commonplace in the neighborhood that I grew up. He served 7 years and went home. I had no previous crime as a juvenile. I was never in county prison. I never did any state time. I didn't have an adult record. And I didn't feel, even though at the time I hadn't changed much from the young kid I was who made these mistakes, that I couldn't change. I didn't feel I was incorrigible. But my sentence basically said that I was a throwaway, that now I had to die in prison. You know, I couldn't wrap my head around that for a long time. You know, I mean, I was a kid that grew up in the Frankfurt section of Philadelphia, which is a bad area, and it wasn't anything for me to see fights happening on a daily basis in these neighborhoods. I just never imagined that that fight that night was going to turn into what it did. I spent the next 31 years of my life in Graterford trying to make amends for that to my family. I mean, I had already made peace with God and the fact that I was going to die there. Commutation at the time, it was non-existent. I mean, we really literally had a saying that you had a better chance of hitting the lottery than getting your sentence commuted in the state of Pennsylvania. It was just a random, arbitrary process, and I really was probably the biggest pessimist when it came to commutation. You know, there's so many men and women that are deserving. I mean, the work that I'm doing, the men and women that I'm helping, every time they go up for a hearing, I get anxiety. I feel like I'm going through that hearing all over again. And I know many of these men and women that are being granted. I've helped them, and I know many that are being denied that I've helped. And it's soul-crushing to see somebody that I know deserves a second chance. And for whatever random, arbitrary reason, whether it's a lack of support, a lack of information, a lack of education or communication, that they don't receive it. And now they had every right to receive a second chance, as I did, to be out here, and now they're going to die in prison because they didn't have what I had. So I hope that everybody can get behind this and support this. Just seeing the commutation process evolve now as it is from what it was. I can't tell you how important that is. It's going to save men and women who don't needlessly have to die in prison. I mean, I feel as though that I should have been punished for my role, but I didn't feel as though I should have had to die in prison. You know, I paid a heavy price. I lost over 3/4 of my family before I came home. There's men and women that were in prison that were my mentors before I got there, and now I'm standing here before you, and they're still there. And I feel as though they deserve that chance, maybe even more so than me. And maybe they just didn't have the opportunity to get their application in, or to get that support, or to know what to do, or have that information. So I'm hoping that this will at least afford some of them that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. Can you hear me well with this mic? Okay, thank you. Thank you, George, and good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Sung, serving as the Executive Director for the Governor's Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. First, I want to say thank you to Lieutenant Governor and the Secretary Trusty for organizing this very important event. And thank you so much to all the amazing speakers to share their vulnerable part of their life, to share their amazing and powerful speech and insight. And thank you so much to my colleagues from Governor's Office and everyone from media, from community, to being here today on the first Monday of April, which is the Second Chance Month, to show your solidarity, to show your support, and to show your care about this very, very important cause. As my fellow speakers mentioned, individuals with a criminal record often struggle to find housing, employment, or education, regain voting rights, volunteer in their own community, and pay for the significant debt that arises as a result of conviction and incarceration. On top of that, I wanted to remind every one of us to think about what a criminal record can bring to an immigrant, especially with a refugee background. Not just struggles or difficulties, but disasters. Depending on their circumstances, a criminal record could lead to detention, yet another prison, and deportation. When immigrants are deported due to their criminal history, they're losing everything they have built in this country, and some will even lose their families. For immigrants who came to the US as refugees, it can even be life and death. People become refugees usually because they may lose their lives if they continue staying in their country of origin. Refugees come to the US through refugee settlements for safety and better lives. So think about it. If we deport them back to their original country, are we putting them back in the danger of losing their lives? Is it an additional punishment much more significant than their original sentences? And another reality is that some refugee communities' countries of origin disown them already and don't accept their deportation back. This makes ICE have nowhere to deport them back, and they are put in detention centers for a very long time, even much longer than their time in prison. It also becomes an additional disaster for their families. Their families are separated from their dear family members for much longer time than original sentence time, and they sometimes could be the only source of income for their families. The majority of Asian Pacific American community members are immigrants, just like myself. And we have diverse communities coming to the US through refugee settlement. For example, from Vietnam and Cambodia in Southeast Asia, and from Bhutan and Afghanistan from South Asia. Most war refugees who came from Vietnam and Cambodia several decades ago have had their children and grandchildren here in this land and have been contributing to this country for decades together with their families. Our greater Harrisburg area has become one of the fastest growing Vietnamese community in this country, with the majority of members coming to the U.S. through refugee settlement, then moving to Pennsylvania because of the welcoming nature of this Commonwealth. We're so proud that Pennsylvania is leading the nation by being a welcoming and inclusive state. And we're extremely proud that Pennsylvania is the first state to create a clean slate law. The Clean Slate Law enables people to feel safe to go back to their own communities when they finish their sentences, without fear of deportation for a past conviction. In the land of the free, a criminal record should not mean a lifetime disqualification from the opportunity to build a better life for oneself and one's family. It applies to everyone, certainly including minorities. Like me, serving and advocating for the Asian Pacific American community across Pennsylvania. My colleagues, Maria Hathaway, here together with us, and my dear colleague, Ladisha Maxwell. They're working so hard every day for the women's community and African American communities every day. And also our two other colleagues who are not able to join us today, Luz Colon, Rafael Alvarez-Fibo, also working hard for the Latino community and the LGBTQ community. We, 5 governors' commissions, are committed to working together with the Lieutenant Governor's Office, the Board of Pardons, and our respective communities on increasing public awareness about the needs for individuals, for employers, for congregations, for communities to extend second chances, and advocating for the rights and opportunities that people deserve. Thank you. Now I would like to pass the mic back to Lieutenant Governor Fetterman for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I take questions about this specific topic, I want to point out specifically Naomi's case. You were forensically exonerated by a judge, correct?
Correct.
You had no participation or role whatsoever in the crime
Whatsoever.
in 1985, but yet you served 38 years in prison for something that you did not do,
That I
and you
did
were.
not- exactly.
And George, you were present as well too, but did not contribute to. You just were present, correct? 31 years. So whether you were denied a seat on your city council that you won through a democratic election, or you were wrongfully imprisoned for 3 to 4 decades, this is a powerful process that deserves and should be more accessible to Pennsylvanians. It now doesn't cost anything to apply, and now we are going to be able to do it digitally shortly in this Commonwealth too. So thank you for coming, and I'd be delighted to take any questions specific to the topic at hand today.
Mark Levy. Wondering if you can talk about the pitfalls of the current system. I mean, I heard Mr. Sims say it took him 6 years to go from application to approval.
Yeah. Well, his, and I don't want to, he can correct me if I'm wrong, 2015 well precedes my involvement. You know, he didn't start till 2019. And once we took office, you know, it's been rapidly accelerated. In fact, now, and Celeste, we can get a turnaround for a marijuana expedited case in how many, 4 months?
I would say closer to a year right now, just because we have so many people applying, which is great. But yeah, they're expedited. So we're able to get, you know, applications for people in and filed much quicker now than we used to, but we do have a lot more people applying right now as well.
Applications are up how many percent?
Oh, quite a bit. I actually have the stats here. So in 2019, we had 1,048 applications come in. But in 2017, we only had 545. So we're seeing a huge increase in applications across the board.
So, and digitizing this and removing it from the realm of paper and making it more user-driven is going to be a big, too. And we've simplified the application. It used to be 30 pages long and have a lot of what I would call extraneous, useless information. And so we've continued to try to expedite this process. And we eliminated the fees associated with the application of it, too, which further delayed things. You know, my goal, what I would like to see happen long after I'm gone, is that with the digitization of this, it makes it much more rapid and much more responsive, and the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons is going to be able to be much more decisive and rapid because we'll be getting the information much more timely and in a unified way. And that's why I'm so excited about this modernization process.
So right now, everything's done on paper, you
Correct.
apply by
Yeah.
paper, you call in by phone, you submit all your supporting materials by paper.
It's very, very inefficient, and that's what we discovered when we took office. And we realized that we needed to modernize this. And the governor was 100% on board with that. The legislature, to their credit, you know, stepped up and approved the funds. And was one of our core agenda items during this administration, is to make sure that when we leave, this is in place for Pennsylvanians, you know, for perpetuity. So.
Do you know if, historically speaking, Mr. Sims' experience of waiting 6 years is the exception or the rule?
I would say that's on the higher end, but before I became lieutenant governor, it wasn't unusual for it to take 4 years for a pardon, which is far, far too long. You know, our goal would be to have it take no more than a year. That's always been our goal, is a year. And I'd also like to point out that the governor's commitment has helped make this possible, because, you know, we could get a million pardons to the governor's desk that are deserving, but if he wasn't willing to be that partner in second chances, you know, he has been at every turn, yes, this is important to me. We need to make sure that this happens. And having him as a partner has been a real credit. So.
How much did the system cost? You talked about the legislature stepping up with money.
It was, I believe the legislature appropriated, Christina, like how much? $1.1 million is our best to digitize an entire process that up until this point has been inefficient and entirely paper-based, you know. And we all know now that you can do your taxes, you can order your dinner, you can do everything on your phone or digitally. And now it's important that this process, which is so vital to Pennsylvanians looking for a second chance, join them.
When will it come online or take effect?
Later this year, that's the anticipated rollout of it. And I emphasized this in the beginning, you know, I won't be lieutenant governor when this is full on the norm, but it's going to be one of Governor Wolf's many, you know, parts of his legacy, but certainly one of mine that I'll be exceedingly proud of. Yes.
Kyle Heiser, WGAL News 8. Last night there was an empty podium at your.
Yeah, no, I'm only taking questions about the pardon stuff today, please. So.
So you think that'd be a good place to
No,
reach out
yeah,
to voters?
No, I don't. Next.
Any technological challenges with prisoners being able to access computers to be able to start this process?
I'm sorry?
Any technological challenges with prisoners being able to access computers or being able to access this system digitally, as you're describing?
I don't think there'll be any challenges. I mean, I think people, you know, if they have a phone or they have an iPad or they have anything.
I just wanted to,
Yeah,
so for folks who are actually incarcerated, they have representatives inside who will actually be able to access the system that way. So they will still be able to use a paper application if they need to, but there will be access through DOC for folks to file online.
And that was going to be another question. I mean, it's DOC's responsibility to roll this out, correct?
Well, it's a partnership to make sure that everyone will have access to the system, and it'll be much easier now that it'll be digitized. So, any other questions?
When you say it's going to start to roll out this year, when the interface that was up on the screen, do you know when that's going to go live? Can you give us some more details about the rollout schedule?
Sure. So we're hoping end of December or January will be the live full implementation of the system for everybody to be able to apply online.
And on one of the other slides you showed with the number of applications and then the number of pardons that Governor Wolf has granted, what of that is some of that due to lag time and application processing? What has been the impact of the issue that you're talking about on those numbers?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've gotten an overwhelming influx of new applications because of the publicity that we've generated, that making second chances a priority. And we have made the application much more thin and lean in terms of what's required. And we've also done a lot of expediting on the back end as well, too. So we've dramatically reduced the time it takes, but we've also processed a record number of applications at the same time. And the final kind of quantum leap is the digitization of this process, which will make it that much more efficient and will free up additional staff time that is spent, quite frankly, handling paper that they shouldn't be, and it should be digitized and automated. And then also, you know, at 8 o'clock at night when someone gets home at work, they can work on their pardon. It doesn't have to be during business hours if they have a question or whatever. It's all online. Will be. Any other questions? Well, anyway, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all to the very, very special guests that received their second chance. And thank you.